My biggest win with the journey has been that inner peace and just that fundamental knowing that I've got full purpose and a great deal more happiness.
That was amazing for me and actually for my whole family. Allowed us to keep this open mind on life and to open to all the opportunities.
I have so much more freedom and self-connection and health and vibrancy. I just feel more alive.
The journey helped me to understand what my emotions are, not to be scared of them.
It changed my life. It cleared all blocks and brought into my consciousness what my heart's desire was.
Now I feel my life is easier. I feel stronger, feel what I feel and find a new solution.
To be free from the burden on my shoulders. I live in the moment now and I'm open to my emotions from the highest to the lowest.
Until the journey, I didn't really know that I could get to the same depths without using any substance. It's getting easier and easier to connect to the deepest part of myself.
Probably the biggest improvement is my inner life or my inner freedom to be as myself, in myself, not being a victim of circumstances and the other people.
The journey has really been a second chance in life for me. Having permission to dive deep and find out who the real authentic me was and just to be that person has just been wonderful.
When you listen to yourself and when you really touch your soul, something magical happens.
Life is different because of the journey. I feel I have all the tools I need to face whatever life throws at me. Life has become fun.
My biggest win was healing a broken heart, and not once, many times. I would never have been able to be in the position that I am in now had it not been for the journey.
Befriending myself in really accepting who I am, that I am perfectly imperfect and I don't need fixing.
I've gained so much. So there is no one big win. If it had to be named as one thing, I would just say it's life-changing.
It's changed my world, it's changed my life, it's changed me. And it's allowed me to be open and vulnerable and completely transparent.
My biggest win as a result of using the journey would definitely be my ability to network and expand upon the goals that I've had for such a long period of time.
My biggest win since attending the Journey Intensive has been finding myself. It has been healing, transforming.
I am just so much more receptive and open to whatever God has planned for me. At the very core of me, being able to experience that peace has been priceless.
A wonderful good evening and welcome to our today's webinar of the science behind childhood trauma and how to heal it. And I've got something to show, and that's a trauma from 5 days ago. I was on skiing holiday and fell and broke my wrist. And so traumas can happen at any time in life. And but childhood traumas can be insidious, and something that is a lot talked about, mentioned about, is kind of a phrase that is on everybody's in everybody's language nowadays. And the reason my colleague Daniel Wagner and I are here today is to tell you that there are ways through trauma, there are ways to heal from trauma completely. My name is Gaby Burt. I've been with Brandon Bays and the Journey for nearly 30 years, so 28 years now. And I have seen amazing stories of healing, and trauma is very much at the core of most of them. And the beautiful people you've just heard speak here at the beginning are all people who have experienced traumas at any level and cleared them completely. And then freedom comes, independence comes, self-love comes, connection comes, and that's what this is all about. So it is very, very possible. And we're just kind of rounding up some of experiential findings through healing from trauma. And also my colleague Daniel Wagner, who's been with the Journey, not quite 28 years, but quite a few years also, is coming or sharing with you some more of the scientific background. Sometimes we need to understand It needs to come in through the logical side and then through experiences. And then hopefully by the end of our session today, you will absolutely know with every part of your being that whatever you are going through, it's possible to clear it and to come out the other side. And so that's our job today. We also staying here at the end of it to take question and answers. We have a very beautiful special offer for you also. But without further ado, I'm going to welcome my colleague Daniel Wagner and let him start with the scientific side. And I come and see you a little bit later. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for joining us here today.
You're so welcome, Gaby. Thank you, everyone. So in case you're wondering my little accent, because I'm Austrian, so my English is not my native tongue. So is Gaby, by the way. So two Austrians sharing with you today. Yeah, I want to talk to something that's really dear to my heart because I'm with the journey about 10 years. It comes up to my 10-year anniversary. And I've done so many presentations and I've listened to these testimonials at the beginning so many times. Now, what you don't know, of course, is that I know many of these people firsthand from before they experienced the journey and then after they were able to clear some of the trauma. And trauma has become a bit of a fashionable word. Everyone's trauma aware and we do trauma awareness and that's beautiful, but awareness of trauma, it's almost for me there's a bit of a possible negative side effect. If we all become aware, there is a tendency that we might justify behavior by just saying, yeah, of course I've been traumatized, therefore I am not good at relating, or I got traumatized, therefore I am not doing this or that. So it can turn into a limitation as well. And I'm almost 60 now, and I've done 40 years of self-development, so to say, try to find ways to improve my life. And until I found the journey, many of these were fruitless journeys, pretty much. I tried things, there was short-term effects, short-term improvements, excitement, inspiration, but the long-lasting stuff really only happened since I've done journey work. And I am biased. I'm working with the journey, but I'm not paid by the journey to say these things. This is my personal experience. But I'd love to share some science which helps me. I'm a bit of a mental person. I need to understand things. It allows me to relax. And there's maybe some of you here with the same tendency to want to understand, to want to figure out. And I always knew there was some way to unlock joy, unlock greatness, to come back to who I was when I was young. I got beautiful memories of being very young and being free. And, we somehow take for granted that as we get older, life gets narrower, we become more fearful, we become less spontaneous. But there's a reason for that. And that reason is that we accumulate experiences that make us narrower. And if you're anywhere around the journey and the journey folks, you meet people in their 70s and 80s with the energy and the innocence and the curiosity of a young child. And I don't think that's by accident. That is almost by design, because they've been clearing some of the heaviness, some of the illusions around trauma. Now, I want you to also understand, I take every single person's traumatic experience seriously, in the way that I absolutely acknowledge that it might be an absolute hell to live with that memory or that experience. But so I want to say my heart goes out to anybody who shares stories that limit their ability to be free and to enjoy life. And I also want to say today we're going to share with you one of, from my experience and my research, most potent methods to clear the root cause of trauma. So without any further ado, I have prepared a few slides. Don't worry, it's not too much, but there are a few slides I want to share. And I just want to, by a quick show of hands, can you just let me know if you see those slides? Yes, perfect, thumbs up. So I want to talk today about, and this will take about 15 minutes maximum. Gaby's got more to share, and I want to also present solutions, not just show you some of the background. But today we're talking about the new science on how childhood trauma affects your long-term health and wellness.
and how to heal the childhood trauma. So this is really fascinating, and I really hope that it puts you in a place to be open to trying something different. Number one, it should allow you to say, okay, I get it. I did have experiences that have a long-term effect on my health and wellness. So what I'm experiencing today is because of something that happened a long, long time ago, but also letting you know the good news. There are ways to tackle that, to heal it, to deal with it. So first of all, definition of trauma. Now, there are many ways you can define trauma. If you Google it, if you go to Wikipedia, or if you listen to different medical textbooks, I have written one here that is very, very simple, but for me, it is something very profound. Trauma is any life experience, anything that happens to you that you can't fully feel or digest in the moment. Now, overwhelm, too big, too strong, the body protects itself by saying, you know what, I'll store that for later. And in most people's lives, later never comes. Many of these experiences that are overwhelming or too much shutdown experiences, traumatic experiences, we don't know how to deal with that in the moment, and we store it for a moment when we're going to bring them back up, but we don't consciously do that. Our society, our current way society works, is definitely not a society that welcomes people to process past traumas. Now, just as a small reference, in the animal kingdom, if you've ever seen one of these wonderful documentaries with Mr. Attenborough, and the lion attacks the gazelle, and the gazelle escapes by the skin of the teeth, the certain death. And the gazelle obviously is highly traumatized, but what it does, it stands, it shakes, it gets rid of that, and literally it gets rid of the trauma from the body. So it doesn't carry the story of what happened. It doesn't take it to the evening dinner with the other antelopes and talks about what happened today. So we humans have not kept that ability, but there are ways to clear trauma nevertheless. So unresolved trauma, and I just want to let you know, we all have it to various degrees, but if you don't resolve it, it creates stories and mental patterns. That means limiting your ability to experience life to the full. You develop behaviors of avoidance, phobias it's often called, but it goes much subtler. It tends to be that people have fear-based living, any form of hiding away or not communicating, not connecting, many different expressions, and often what is called impairment on physical, emotional, or mental level. So when we speak about trauma, the one thing before we moved into the last 5-6 years, when people started talking more about trauma, most of us have related trauma. At least I grew up that way. Trauma is what we call shock trauma. Somebody has an accident, like Gaby, she skiing accident, breaks her wrist, pain happens, the body has a shock. That's one type of trauma. An assault might have happened, a natural disaster will have happened. This is standard shock trauma. The next area, which is much more prevalent and has so far not had the same attention, is developmental or relational trauma. Chronic adversity, often in childhood, abuse, neglect, lack of safety, lack of connection, whatever environment you grew up in forms your behavior patterns for the rest of your life. And there's a third type of trauma that is simply called other experiences that you might even experience today. Chronic toxic stress. You might have had childhood medical procedures or adverse community environments where you grew up. Many reasons why you will be affected. So what is really important, though, when we look at those three, many of them happen very early in life and are put into the unconscious for later processing, but also our body, our mind, our emotional world says, I never want to experience this again because it could be a threat to my life. Therefore, let's do everything we can to avoid experiencing it again. And we start to narrow down how we live. We start to narrow down how we trust life, who we trust, how we experience life. So what is really important, there are many, many studies, the numbers vary, but so many people today would say that most diseases, most dis-ease, most physical impairment, and many of the things we call chronic diseases, chronic pain, are linked to emotional or behavioral patterns. So most diseases, and again, studies vary, say the root cause is emotional, the root cause is somewhere else. The physical expression is just the outcome. So when you go to a doctor with digestive disorders, autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, migraines, or emotional behavioral disorders like anxiety, forms of depression, constant patterns of challenging relationships, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, addiction, and many other forms, today we know they're linked to childhood trauma. And this brings me to the big reveal of this presentation. If so far you've been 80% paying attention, please, the next 2 minutes are the key takeaway. There is a study that has been done by Kaiser and the Center of Disease Control, CDC, in America, with over 17,000 patients. And what they have found, if people can point to what is called ACE, an adverse childhood experience, there is an effect on long-term health and wellness. Yes, that has been clearly established beyond any doubt scientifically. But here is what is shocking. 2/3 of all participants have said that yes, they experienced at least one adverse childhood experience. And by the way, this is the thing we remember. There are many things that are put and running underneath the surface. Over 20% of people have experienced 3 or more of these adverse childhood experiences. And if you experience 4 or more, and this is the shocking statistic, if you have experienced 4 or more, then your likelihood of getting heart disease is 240% compared to a test group. The likelihood of getting any form of cancer is double because you had adverse childhood experiences. To be able to take drugs, to abuse drugs, including prescription drugs, is tenfold, 1,000% more likely will you have addictive behavior if there have been adverse childhood experiences. The likelihood of a stroke is up by 240%, diabetes 160%, to make an attempt on your own life up by 1,120% if you had an experience in childhood of an adverse experience. Obesity 160%, depression 460%. If people have 6 or more of these conscious and unconscious adverse experiences, your life expectancy, goes down by almost 20 years. Now, if you just try to digest this, if things happen when you were a young person, some of them unconscious, it might mean that you live 20 years less and you live on this planet with a much, much greater likelihood of serious disease, of behavior that really takes away the ability to enjoy life. And life is really too short for that. So this is what the science says. So I think this is my little sentence here. So it matters. It matters that we do this webinar today. It matters that we talk about the journey, because addressing the root cause of trauma, the root cause, and supporting healing and recovery are crucial not only for the individual that experiences healing and relief, but this is for a broader societal and environmental health. And I want to just say something. If you look at this wonderful graphic, this is my belief, and you might not agree, but much of what we're experiencing today and see in the world is a result of trauma. The poverty people have experienced, the addiction, the discrimination, the violence, the chronic illnesses, the mental health crisis we have, much of that can be linked back to unprocessed, unclear trauma. And we live in a society, this is why it affects everybody. Now, it's great for you individually to clear it, but it will affect the society, the community you're living in, and overall the world we're living in. So you will have heard this, and I'm almost done with my presentation. Actually, I want to just quickly check in as I'm doing my solo flying here. Can you just, by a quick show of hand, let me know if this is useful information? Just give me a thumbs up or something. Okay, thank you, because I'm like stuck in my slideshow here. If this appears relevant, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Back to my last two slides. Most people are aware and familiar with what is called a trauma response. And fight and flight is what we see in the animal kingdom a lot, and it appears in our life too. If you come across a traumatic experience, there is two assessments the body makes, the mind makes. Can I fight it? Can I attack? Or is it better to run? And this is what is commonly known as the fight-flight response, very deep in our reptilian brain, the oldest part of our nervous system and brain. The third response, lesser known, is called the freeze response. And that is also very common in nature. People just pretend to fall dead, to not exist. So it's not fight, it's not flight, it's just freezing in the moment. And I read many stories of people who carry a tremendous amount of guilt that they froze when trauma happened, wondering why they weren't fighting or fleeing, when in a matter of fact, this bodily response happens at a level that is outside our conscious control. So it's a very common response, but there are two more trauma responses, lesser known, the fawn response. This is literally what you see. It's a form of hiding, like you see it when a young deer hides. The fawn response is to just become small. And again, this can become a pattern in life, playing small, pretending to be not there, that can become a life theme. And of course, the collapse is also a theme. The inability to deal with the situation, collapse can show as tantrum, collapse can come as literally a physical collapse or a mental collapse. Any form of these is also a trauma response. And I mean by response that your body tries the best it can with the resources it has available to fight, flee, not be there, or deal with the impending threat that is perceived. So I just wrote a little list here of the benefits of clearing trauma, and there are many more. But just like trauma affects your long-term health and well-being, clearing your trauma affects in a positive way your mental health, your emotional regulation, physical health, your relationships, your self-esteem, life satisfaction, your sense of safety in the world, your cognitive ability, your personal growth and insight, and even your ability of achieving or sensing and feeling closure and peace for situations. Last slide before I hand over to the Gaby, I want to share with you some of the most commonly used trauma healing modalities. Now, I put the journey method, the one we want to talk about a bit more today, and invite you to experience as well. I am biased. I said in the beginning, I'm with the journey, but from all my research and my own experience, it is definitely amongst, if not the most potent, because it deals with the root cause and it goes through a few aspects that Gaby will share more about that really eradicates the root cause that keeps you stuck, that keeps you blocked. You might have tried some of the other things on this list. If you are here and you consciously have been working with trauma, trying to clear it, are aware that there is something in your childhood that affects you today, that you lived in circumstances less than optimal, then you might have tried EMDR, the eye movement desensitization reprocessing, somatic experiencing, CPT, cognitive behavioral therapy, EFT, the tapping, emotional freedom techniques. Many others are there, narrative therapy, prolonged exposure therapy, psychodynamic psychotherapy. Now, they're not in in the order of effectiveness. It's beyond me to state that. But if you tried some of the others, today we have a clear invitation to learn more about the journey and why the journey works. So I want to thank you so much for listening to this. I really hope there was something new in there. Minimum that you know there is extensive medical research that some of what you're experiencing today might be something that happened a long, long time ago, and it might affect your life today. And yes, there is good news. It can be cleared, it can be tackled, we can begin healing and recovering from it. So, Gaby, I hope that was a little bit more concise than last time. Last time I went much longer.
Well, scientific stuff is always concise, you see.
Good.
I'm the one who can ramble on all day long because I'm as passionate as you are. And I just want to take us back a little bit to my early days of the journey and what actually brought me to the journey, because there was a webinar. Didn't have webinars in those days. I'm going back into the 90s. Many of you probably know Deepak Chopra, and I heard about him in the early 90s, and he happened to come to London, and I did a weekend seminar with him, and much of what he spoke about went over my head. And yet there was something he said during this 3-day seminar, and he said, you know, people who grow into mature age or old age, whatever you want to call it, have two things in common. Number one, they have the ability to somehow, through an act of grace, to open into source. He called it the infinite intelligence, the quantum soup. He had various words for it, but Brandon calls it very neutrally source. So people who have the ability to open into source. And the second one was to find out, or not to find out, to get to the root cause of some of the old traumatic experiences and clear them out. And so I heard this and I thought, wow, that is amazing. But he didn't have a method. He didn't have a method then. And what the recipe was to an Ayurvedic lifestyle. You know, you eat healthy, you live healthy, you meditate, you shower at 5 o'clock in the morning with sesame oil and all that stuff. And I did it for, I think, 3 months and nothing happened. I was really convinced I wanted this. I wanted to get to this so much. But nothing happened. And my husband laughed at me and he said, what on earth are you doing? And I said, I'm just trying something. But after 3 months, I just gave up. I gave up because nothing happened and I didn't quite know what should happen. And then somehow I was training as a homeopath in those days. I was on the mailing list of someone and I received an invitation to an intro talk by Brandon Bays for the journey. And believe it or not, on this invitation, it says, during my seminar, you will learn how to open into source, number one, and you will also learn how to completely clear trauma from the cellular structure, from your cells. And so one thing you learn on day one, the other one you learn on day two. And I thought, well, if this woman, who was an absolute stranger to me in those days, if this woman really knows how to do this, she's got the recipe for long life, happiness, and health. And so I went to the intro talk and I ended up going to the seminar. And it really was what she said. So there is a way that we can access what put these traumas in place, and not only access it, but we can heal it. And how do we heal it? We heal it by, first of all, opening into source. Now, when we open into source, I don't know how many of you meditate or how many of you had an actual experience of opening into a presence that is greater than our body, our being, where we really, it feels like you're on a mountaintop and you have a different perspective on life, on everything. And then somehow we get to a place where we bring back an old memory. And this memory is not something we have designed that we want to work on. Our body shows it up. Our body tells us what it needs to work on, what is really, really important. So a memory will show up and we start to empty out, we start to clear out, and then forgiveness happens. And somehow there is a way in which these traumas, these childhood memories, these adverse childhood experiences can be cleared completely. And we have, I mean, I'm forever blown away by this ACE study, because, you know, 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, it's not difficult. It's really not difficult, because I think I grew up in a very, very normal family. You know, I did not experience any severe abuse. I did not, you know, some of you have written in, and by the way, thank you so much for all those who have left messages and shared what's going on for you. But I had accidents, endless. I had many, many accidents. So I had shock in my life on various occasions. My mother lost a child before me, so she was, I grew up in a grieving and depressed family. So can you call it neglect? I don't know. I was trying to entertain everybody to make sure somebody would see me, because if I hadn't done that, I would have been totally forgotten, I think. So is that a trauma? I don't know, but it's certainly all added up. And then hospital experience, yes, I was at 6 years old. I was in a hospital with full anesthetic, and in those days, you weren't, you know, you didn't have your parents with you. You were on your own in a ward with nurses and other children. Is that a trauma? Well, there is, I can easily get to 10 severe traumas by the age 10. Now, how did that look in my life? By the time I got to 40, I was numb on the inside. I would have never said that I was depressed, because I kind of made life more interesting. I did more things. I kind of kept active, but I became burnt out as well as internally depressed. And I guess when the student is ready, the teacher shows up, and that was the time when I came to Brandon, and everything changed. Everything changed, and it was like somebody turned the light bulb on the inside. And one of the biggest adverse childhood memories that I remember in my life was 6 years old, and it was a fight I had with my brother. And it started off as a game, and he was teasing me, and I had a bit of a temper as a child. I was known for that. And we were playing a game where he kind of, I was on the outside. It was a holiday, and I was on a balcony on the outside, and he was indoors in the living room, and there were a few doors, and every time he ran from one door to the next, opened it a little bit, and by the time I got to it, he closed it again. Now, he did that for a few minutes, and I got so furiously angry that I hit the door with my fist. Now, the door was like a Victorian door with glass panels in between, and I put my hand right through the glass, and I cut my wrist to the point that the cut in certain places was deeper than the main artery. Where the main artery was, it wasn't. And so I guess I don't know how many guardian angels with me, but this was a long, long time ago. In fact, that was 60-something years ago. And there were no cell phones. And my mum had a little baby as well. She was 6 months old. And there was my brother, four years older than me, who in my book was the one responsible for what happened. But all I remembered at that point was there was just a hush, a silence, and I looked down and there was a puddle of blood on the floor. And I thought I was going to die. I think my brother thought I was going to die. And somehow my mum got there in time, and, you know, the arm was rescued. I was taken to the local doctor. They were taking us to a local hospital. But what I didn't know, and what we do in an instant, in a really, really tiny, tiny instant, is if I lose my temper, I could kill myself or someone else. And do you know what happened in my life at that point? Is I never got angry again from the age 6. It took me to when I got to the journey when I was 41 or 42. And so I grew up being friendly, being nice, non-confrontational. I just was very, very pleasing, did everything, but it got to the point where I just became a ghost. I actually became a numb ghost on the inside. And that was caused through trauma. The fact that I then was in hospital for 2 days on my own afterwards was a trauma on top of that, plus whatever else happened in my life are various other traumas. So these are traumas that we all experience, all of us. And I also recognize that many of the stories that we received today or over the last few days in preparation for this webinar have to do with disconnect, with people pulling back, with abuse, with not being able to trust other people. And all of this has a root cause. But one of the things that I have learned and I have seen in thousands and thousands and thousands of cases of being with Brandon Bays, being in seminars and witnessing firsthand people's experiencing going through journey processes, that we really, once we open into this infinite presence of love, where we see things differently from a different perspective, that we can empty out and, even in my story, in my situation, like speak to my brother how much he upset me by doing what he did, and let the anger come out and let it be spoken out, even if I don't even need to say it to him. The words are in me and it needs to come up and out. And that wasn't all of the issue. My father wasn't there. He wasn't there to protect me. My mum was looking after a little baby. Nobody was looking after me. I was bleeding to death, nearly dying. So expressing, saying all of those things. And essentially, when everything is being spoken, coming to a place of forgiveness. Yes, coming to a place of forgiveness. Even my brother, who I felt was responsible for what happened, and in many of the cases that we've heard your stories or read your stories, the perpetrator. There is a way in which we don't have to forgive the actions, what somebody does, but come to a place of healing and forgiveness on the inside so we can let go of this negative issue. And those are the components of profound healing, and it's available for everyone. And this is something that we do at the Journey Intensive. This is what everybody can go through, and no matter what your trauma was, whether that was physical abuse, whether it was sexual abuse, whether it was verbal abuse, whether it was accidents, whether it was shock, whether it was neglect, it all has a root cause. As Daniel already said, it has a root cause. And the journey process allows us to meet the root cause and clear it out completely. And through opening into presence, to opening into source, we come to a place of wholeness and forgiveness, and this trauma is cleared out. So sometimes I was receiving an email from a beautiful lady who's actually done quite a bit of journey work, and was also explaining that there was still more, that there was more that needed to be worked on, and that there was sexual abuse, and that she was more upset with what her father said to her when she tried to confide. And, there comes a point when there are these kind of issues they're like diamonds. They're like diamonds that help us to wake up. They're diamonds that help us to come clean and clear in ourselves. And these issues are there waiting to be cleared, waiting to be released. And like the accident that I had age 6, that wasn't one journey process. That was like a multifaceted diamond that helped me clear so many issues. But one of the big issues that I needed to overcome was my fear of hurting myself or others. And that was by being angry. I couldn't give myself permission to ever get angry again, because if I did, it became dangerous. And my anger was at that point dangerous. I forgot this was like, this is, I guess it falls into blind rage. And when you get to the other side of it, you recognize, you realize, and in my case, you're then grown up. There are many ways of just allowing feelings to arise. And in the journey, we just have a community. We have friends, we have somebody who we can speak to, who we can do a process with, and can start clearing out. And then when these issues are gone and cleared, then love remains, or all that remains is love. We just did a beautiful, beautiful retreat with Brandon for some of the people who done more of the advanced work with the journey. And we did a retreat in Rishikesh called Karma Cleanse. And it was absolutely amazing how some of the issues that have kind of followed us through life kind of rose up and were able to be offered up and cleared out completely. So yes, it's possible for everyone. The good news is that the ability to open into source, and we do that in a repeatable way. You learn something that I really wish we would learn in school, or for those of you who grew up by going to church, our priests in church would have told us. I'm Austrian, so in Austria is still highly, highly Catholic. And it's all intellectual talk. There's no experience. But yet in the journey, opening into source becomes an experience that will never leave you. There is nobody here telling you that when you do A, B, C, and D, this happens. It's like everything that we do is experiential, and you will undergo these processes. You really open into a presence of love that is infinite, that is beyond your physical form, that is everywhere, that is inside and outside. And you recognize the sacredness of that. And once you have a second of that, a millisecond of that, it will stay with you for the rest of your life. Now, I grew up, even though I'm Austrian, and grew up in a very religious or Catholic country, I should say. My family was not very religious at all, and neither was I. And so I had no connection to any of this. And yet, the moment I opened into that, there was an awareness of a sacredness that we all are, where we are all connected, where we are all one. And once you get a taste of that, then it becomes easy to allow the stuff to come to the surface, to clear it out, and to find forgiveness. And forgiveness is not to accept what others do. There is shit and crap out there that is totally unacceptable. There is so much violence out there. There is so much abuse out there. And yet I have a choice to which level I want to expose myself to that, And so once I have cleared all of that stuff in myself, it somehow feels that it doesn't find me that much. But we need to, I think we're here in life to grow, to come home to our deepest and truest self. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're here. That's my personal belief. So you can take it or leave it, but to grow, to mature, to come home to the true self, into our heart, into love. And as for forgiveness, I would love to just say one more thing, because it's not about accepting what other people do. It's finding forgiveness in ourselves. It means that we can let go of an issue. We can let go of an issue, a negative issue that we have with someone else, and which also means the story goes. The only beautiful, quick example I have for that is Brandon herself. Now, Brandon, if you have read her book or if you know her story, had a very, very violent upbringing. And it got to when she came to actually learning or finding the journey process, I guess, or putting it together as a practitioner of so many different fields, when she realized that forgiveness was needed or was the one thing that still wasn't complete, she had accepted everything. She knew, as she calls it, been there, done it, bought the t-shirt, wrote the movie. I knew everything, I accepted everything. But the one thing she hadn't done was forgiving her mum. And what that meant was not accepting what her mother did, but forgiving her soul, and most importantly, letting go of the story. Meaning the way she explains it when she speaks about it, she says, I had to step off my self-made pedestal of how great I am. I'm accepting the abuse of my mother. She says, I had to let go of the story fully and completely. And when she did that, and you can read that in the first chapter of her book, when she did that, within 6 weeks, her tumor that was the size of a basketball left. And she realized that she says, I've never, the tumor has never been holding on to me. I've been the one holding on to the tumor. And that is one of the big gifts of the journey. And it's a combination of all the things that I've mentioned here. And even Nelson Mandela said at one point, not forgiving is like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. Not forgiving means drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. And so forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about you. It's letting go of the story. And so much of what I read in your challenges of what you wrote in, we all have stories to tell, each one, and some stories are worse than others. There's always somebody who has a story to tell that is worse than someone else's. And yet when we follow this simple step-by-step that we teach in a 2-day workshop on Saturday and Sunday, you are able to let go completely. And then life becomes peaceful, with an inner peace, with a understanding, with self-love, with compassion. And it's almost like what is understandable. It's like, first of all, I need to find love here before I can love somebody else. And so all of the things that I was reading in your comments, it's like, come home here, come home here, come home to self, and let go of some of the stories that have been plaguing us for most of our life, and become free from it. And then you will be another one of our people who speaks radiantly, glowingly about how their life has changed, how much more joy there is, how much more freedom there is, how much more aliveness there is, how much more energy. You know how much energy it takes to keep anger down? I was virtually on the back of my back by the age of 40. I had no energy left. But what I realized is I was holding anger down, and that took more energy than anything, but just suppressing it. And when I let go of the story, there was so much energy available. This energy heals your illnesses. This energy creates happiness. It creates joy. It connects you with others. That energy is available. It's life force. It's chi. It's prana. And we are pushing it down because something happened at some point in life and we shut it down. And so the invitation is to let it go, to find a way, not to let it go and say, oh, well, I'll just kind of push it on the carpet. That's what we're doing anyway. But to really meet these old dinosaurs, these issues that are no longer here. Whatever happened, you survived it. You're still here, but you're carrying the bag on your shoulder, and it's time to let that bag go. That's the invitation, and everyone can do it. And I have seen it all around the world. I've seen it in children, I've seen it in teenagers, I've seen it in young people, in middle-aged people, in old people, in every people. Men, women, doesn't matter. Everybody is capable of doing it. I've seen it. I've witnessed it, and it's possible for everyone. And I think that's where I would like to leave this conversation for today.
Yay.
Not give you anything else. I'm just going to give you the pep talk today.
That was amazing.
And,
I just love it. I mean, I know you for 10 years now. We meet every week. We have a close friendship as well. I just love your passion for when you share about the journey. A little soapbox. Come on.
yeah, well,
I just love, before we take questions, I just love to spend a few minutes talking about what's actually on offer here today, because I did say the journey, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, really, I don't know everything clearly. It's a very, very potent technology, a method that you can start. And if you have not tried it yet, today is the invitation. Gaby spoke about a 2-day event, and our events, since we're online, have been just so much more easy to access for people, and they're also so much more affordable. In the past, we had to travel to hotels in different countries. Brandon traveled the world, and we had limits on spaces and rooms. And these days, we have events literally all over the world because we can access them from the comfort of our home. I would love Ollie who is part of our team, to maybe share the link. So if you want to check this out, we have events coming up in Europe, in North America, Australia. And the event at full price these days cost a fraction of what they used to be when they were live events. Now, please understand the potency of them only because they're online. It's just the same, if not stronger. You're supported by a trainer team. You got 2 days of experiencing, really learning these techniques. And once the seminar's over, you take those techniques with you into your life to apply again and again. You could even use these techniques to help people around you, your friends and family, to actually start unearthing some of what is holding you back and holding them back. It's a very safe process. It's supported by many trainers. Many times we have up to 40 of our trainers with you in these live seminars. They're online but live. And I really recommend you experience it. They, even at full price, are less than 200 euros. So maybe a tad more than in one single session with a therapist. But they have a very profound result. We also have a very special promotion on right now. If you use the coupon code HEAL25, HEAL25, we actually taken 25% off that already incredibly low price of 197. That means for 147 euros, an equivalent in your currency, you can actually attend a 2-day live workshop from the comfort of your home. You'll be learning from Brandon. You'll be supported by our presenters. You'll be supported by trainers. And there is even the scripts you get how to work through these processes that Gaby mentioned. We also have this morning we met in preparation for today's call, and we said, what else can we do to even give them additional benefits and bonuses? And we put a little package together for you, which are 3 bonuses. There are meditations with Brandon. There is even a complete process that Brandon reads out that you can experience even before you come to the seminar. So the moment you say, yes, I'm up for it, then you can literally join us at the live event, which comes up in May in Europe, and there are other dates. We're going to share them right at the end. But you also get access to 3 different meditations, a gentle welcome, which is a beautiful meditation Brandon does, and more. These are unique. They're just gifts from us for you, so you can have an experience right after today's meeting. Cool. So back over to Gaby and looking at the questions that came in. What can we do? If you got any questions to what I shared, what Gaby shared, the room's still full of people. So tell us.
Somebody said I've already paid 199.
So yeah.
Can you please check in with our support team, support@thejourney.com, and we figure a way of maybe just even rather than refunding 40 something euros, just give you a credit that you can use some other time. Yes. Or maybe transfer to a friend. That's also something I would like to say. So often we try, bring a friend and do this. I was so grateful when I did my first journey intensive. I came with a friend, and we now have a beautiful community that you can join, where we encourage people to continue processing. But we didn't have that in those days. You know, we had to wait for somebody to organize a meeting, and then we got together. And but I had a friend, and I really, when I first started this work, it was so profound for me that it like other issues came up. And sometimes people say, oh, this is like a Pandora's box, you know, once you start, everything else starts coming. It's not like that, but it's almost like your body has found a way of letting go of old stuff. And the best way to deal with that is to do more process work, to continue to clear out, because there was this issue when, you know, when your brother did something and your father preferred him over you, or, you know, the jealousy issue, or the fear issue, that I got really, really scared because something happened in our house with one of the elder cousins, and I had to go and hide myself. All of these things are stuck away, and they just want to come up and out, because every time something that comes up and out, you become lighter, you become freer, you become more whole. And that's the essence of what the journey is. And it is, in my book, in my world, one of the most profound healing methods out there. And so, you know, if you've already paid for it and you've got 45 or something, then get the cheap price and get another 45 or something.
Gaby,
Talk to our support team, they will help you.
A couple of questions, Gaby. So first up, for everybody else, the link is in the chat, thejourneyintensive.com. Use the discount code HEAL25 on checkout, and you get this incredible 2-day life-changing event for 140 euros, dollars, 297 Australian. The dates are here, 3rd to 5th of May in Europe, North America, 17th to 19th. Intensive Australia, 26th to 28th of July, so a bit a while away. But you get instant access. Ollie spoke about this special care package, as we call it. That is reserved for people taking action over the next few days. So that extra little bonus, which is amazing, expires by the end of Sunday, April 6th. My personal request is the wrong word. My personal recommendation, I think, is saying it lightly. Strong recommendation is don't knock it till you tried it. Go there, experience it for yourself. You really can't lose. You learn very valuable techniques. Before I came to the journey, I was 20 years on a so-called spiritual path. I sat for months on end in ashrams, meditating, trying to become holy and enlightened. And in honest to God truth, in the first journey intensive, I had an experience of what I now call source, this experience of being larger than me, than my identified self, my thinking, my intelligence, my intellect. That was more profound than any meditation I ever had. And it wasn't a one-off. The journey allows you to dip into this source, into this infinite field, this quantum field, as it's sometimes called, or quantum soup, as Chopra used to call it. the field of infinite potentiality. And if we can live and source from there, if we can get our inspiration from there, our energy, our solutions, and not bound by what our mind can do. Our mind can only regurgitate what it's learned in this lifetime, but source, the infinite potential, the infinite intelligence, as it says, that's you can access parts of you that were previously reserved to moments of bliss. We all know it. We all know moments of flow, of joy, of bliss when we meet a loved one or we play an instrument or we're outside. There are moments of awe and wonder, but that can become more the norm than the exception. And it all begins with clearing some of the veils, the obfuscations, the thing that hold you away from who you truly are. And it's a big claim, and the only way to verify even some of what I say is to actually learn the techniques. There are two questions which I want to go to. One lady says, I am matrix re-imprinting practitioner, and in their technology, it takes 21 days to re-imprint. Is the journey healing instant? And the answer is sometimes it is actually instant. In other cases, it takes weeks or months for things to percolate and reintegrate. It really is very individual. We have people who have so-called miraculous cures after decades of suffering from all sorts of things. And for other people, it feels like you're chipping away at a much larger confinement until that breaks free. So we can't guarantee any of it because it needs your willingness and your openness. But the method has been for over 30 years transforming people's lives on all levels. And today is our invitation to experience it for yourself. For a weekend of your time, a very humble investment. And if, by the way, this investment is absolutely not doable for you, if you're in a situation where 147 euros is a lot of money, do write to us. In special cases, if we can verify that really that is the situation, there is bursaries, there is support, there is scholarships. We would never want your evolution, your healing to be impeded by lack of funds. So that would be definitely not the journey philosophy. But ultimately, we are a company, we're living this work, we're sharing this work, and we invite you to experience it. Yeah, that was, I think, my part. Anything else, Gaby?
The only one thing I just wanted to say is that on the Heal 25, the discount that we're offering, that is actually open for a little while, for I think another 2 or more weeks. And one thing I would say is, even though we're doing it online, we do have limitations on space because we have a very high standard, always have had, to make sure that people get the highest support from our team, from our core team, from our practitioners, from our trainers. So we do have to put a limit on the number of people that are coming. And the worst thing that could happen, or what we really don't want to happen, is for you to wait until the day before and then we have to say, I'm sorry, we're full. So also, there's a second caveat to that. Very often when we make a decision to step into healing, to step into self-healing, our bodies are starting to kind of show us what really needs healing. And that happens when the decision is made. So I can sit on the fence all day long, all the time, but making a decision and stepping into a positive, I'm going to meet this, I'm going to do this. Your body, your being, grace, love, the universe will support you 100%. So if there is something that I have said, if there is something Daniel has said that has triggered you and kind of opened a little something here, just do it. Like Mr. Nike said, just do it.
Mr. Nike. A lovely little quote here from Melia Wang in the chat. Please go to the Journey Intensive. I can testify to its wondrous effects. So thank you, Melia, for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, we wanted to make sure we don't overstate our welcome here today. But the slides, if you want, they are available. Just write to support@thejourney.com. One person said, oh, I didn't take notes, enough notes while you were presenting. I wanted the trauma definition. totally happy to share those slides. No secrets here. Also, some of the benefits.
Probably can ask our team to send that with the follow-up email.
Oh yes, yeah. Let's
Because
do
a
that.
replay of this, a replay will come to everybody who has registered, and we can easily add a link that shares the slides, I think.
Yes. Also, if there are any other questions, the chat was quite busy. If anything has been not answered, please feel free to write to us. We'll take great care in answering that. Wonderful.
Good.
Enjoyed it.
Well,
One
thank
more
you
time,
very much.
Gaby. So great. Thank you.
And thank you everybody for joining here. Thank you for throwing yourself in. Thank you for sharing your challenges. Thank you for letting us know where you are. You know, I have heard so many issues, stories, traumas that come from something, and I have also seen what it looks like when they clear. And the one thing that I have noticed most of all, and even now seeing the people, we have a few more sharing some of their experiences with the journey. People get younger. There is cosmetic surgery happening from the inside out. If you start clearing some if you start clearing some of the crap that we've been adding up from childhood, it shows. It's like I was working with a lady. I have private clients as well, and she looked radiant. You know, she's in her 70s. She looked absolutely radiant. I said, God, I said, you beam. And she said, well, even my doctor said my skin looks younger, and she does. You know, and it's visible. It's absolutely visible. And so give it a go. You know, you can only get younger. You can only get happier. You can only get lighter and more whole. So that's my giveaway, my takeaway for today. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And we really, really hope to see you along the way. And when we say in Australia, in Europe, in America, it means on that time zone. So we have 3 major time zones around the world where we hold these online seminars. And these days you can do the whole practitioner program online, and it works. It's the best thing that ever happened that COVID brought to us, actually, is being able to offer this work from the comfort of your home and not compromising anything. In fact, I so often hear people say, I feel much safer in the comfort of my own home, and I can go through some of the stuff. And so it works. It really works. And the trainer support is wonderful. Our team is great. And so the first step is the journey intensive. Can't recommend it enough. And I'll leave you with that because it gets boring otherwise. So.
Yeah, first, I once heard this great quote. First step is to take one. Links in the chat. Yeah, Mulțumesc from Romania, and yeah, I would just love to see you there. Give it a try, give it a go, and I really hope you'll never look back.
We also have various languages, you know, so the Germans have their own journey intensive where Brandon's teachings are simultaneous translated, and our host is a German speaker. We will have now that you say Romania, we will have a journey intensive in Romania in June this year. We have it in Czech and Slovak language. We have it in Estonian language. We have it in various languages. So the book has been translated in God knows how many languages, over 20 something. And we have been to 40 plus countries offering journey intensive. So the other good thing that happened with COVID is we could stop our carbon footprint around the world and not travel so much, which is healthier all round. So thank you with all my heart for everybody for joining us. Thank you, our team. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Olga. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being the science behind the slide, explaining it so beautifully. I'm always impressed. Thank
Good.
you.
Now I loved you share today, Gaby, and I'm so happy that there's so much interest for the work. You know, after all these years, it's still so needed. Maybe today more than ever, and it's never been easier to experience it. So look forward to seeing you guys at the next Journey Intensive. You got the link, you'll receive the slides and the follow-up message as well. Thank you for being here. All the best and enjoy your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My biggest win with the journey was being able to access my deepest emotions and free myself from them. I feel more calm and serene.
I found my true calling, and now today I can help others. I love to make an impact. I love to see transformation in others' lives.
For years and years, I used to feel very lonely, and now I just feel a part of everything. I feel I'm alive.
My biggest win with joining the practitioner program is owning my own life back and stepping out of a severe PTSD.
The acceptance of myself and the self-love, so I don't need others to love me. That's perfectly okay.
Life is different now because of joining the journey, because I just live in so much abundance. You know, I get up every day with a joy for living. I want to go to work. I want to meet other people.
My biggest win was the really deep knowing I actually do have the answers. They are within me.
There is a lot more certainty and openness into where I'm heading and how I'm feeling about things.
I feel more connected to life. It's not an easy path for anyone to do healing work, but it's profound.
1, I'm more balanced. 2, I'm more grateful for those persons who helped me in this life. I enrich my life every day with this wisdom.
It's priceless. There's no better, bigger investment we can do in time, money, or energy.
I was a mess before I started with this work, and I healed from lots of different types of abuse, and that's a miracle.
My life now, because of the journey, is transformed. I have confidence. Even if I struggle, it's just I have to let go. It's step after step, and it's no danger at the end.
My biggest win is myself. It doesn't have to be anything else. You can be fulfilled even if you only have yourself.
It's more peaceful. I've learned to process emotions. I learned to be more self-aware, and I've learned when you need to ask for help.
I've been able to have a really deep, long, soulful look at myself, and I've been able to uncover, recover, and heal long-term wounds.
My biggest win being a journey practitioner has been becoming a therapist and a healer, because that's what I never ever imagined it to be.
I'm living from a place of freedom and choice. I'm really conscious in every moment. Any sentence I say, it's coming from just pure goodness.
I feel more authentic, wearing much less of a mask. It's about being you and feeling good about it.
I can embrace all that is. I'm here to share my life, my joy. Now I can just be me.
My own journey of healing from cancer is an inspiration for others. I get to work with amazing people, see amazing transformations in their life.
My biggest win is to be yourself. Just be there for other people, to help other people heal, and just to be there.
I know that no matter what comes, I have the right instrument to deal with whatever emotions every situation will bring to me.
It really has helped me come back to a place of wholeness. I feel like completely authentic. I feel genuine. I feel like I'm in my body.
My big win is my courage and my physical healing, my emotional healing. But in one word, I could say freedom.
The journey is all about releasing all of the emotions that create the illness. I was healed physically within 6 weeks, while I had been in pain over 3.5 years.